So I was going to do this video for later in the month, but I don't know how much I'm going to have the energy to do this later in the month. So we're just going to film this now and see where it takes us. So I want to talk about my goals for the new year. Now, I don't necessarily believe in resolutions. I used to, but I think the thing about resolutions, right, is we all do that thing where we say, oh, I'm going to do this in 2025 and, I'm going to really work on working out and eating healthy. And, maybe you say you want to be vegan. Maybe you say you want to, eat less sugar, whatever. And you do this thing and maybe you do it for 2 weeks and then you run out of steam for whatever reason. And then you get mad at yourself and you're like, well, this year's over. It's been 2 weeks and, it's midway through February or something and you fuck up. And so, oh, well, this year's over. So time to start next year. And I don't subscribe to that. I don't want to do all that. So I don't necessarily say that I have resolutions for the new year, but I do certainly have goals, right? I do certainly have things that I would like to accomplish in the new year. And 2024 has been, to say the least, an exhausting year. 2024, to say the least, has been a tiresome year and a frustrating year. So I want to specifically focus on what I want to do for myself for 2025. Because obviously, with things going the way they are, this is going to be a very difficult year anyway, right? Or a difficult 4 years, let's say. So I want to sort of plan and just have things that I can say that I want to do for the new year for myself. And so I think one goal that I really want to have, obviously, I want to finish this book that I've been working on recently. I appreciate that I completed the Millwordy this year, which is wild to think that I did that in this past year, that I wrote 1 million words in this past year. I appreciate that a lot. And I'm very proud of all that I've written. And I had a lot of fun writing all the words that I did. That is amazing. But at the same time, I do kind of want to be able to, ever since I hit that Millwordy challenge, I've been kind of struggling to write more, which is understandable. This year has already been kind of a lot and I'm just ready for it to be less severe. And I do think, and I know this is bad, but I do think one of the things that I have to do for my mental health is I have to be able to not obsessively watch the news as much, or not, because I'm not even just listening to the news at this point. I'm listening to the news, I'm reading shit, I'm listening to podcasts about news and politics. It gets to the point where it's just such an overwhelming deluge that I'm just losing my marbles. And that's just not the way to do this. As everyone has talked about, you can't let yourself get exhausted with everything that's coming. And that is kind of the end goal of this presidency, right? To exhaust you into complacence. So I don't want to do that. So I have to be able to sort of scale back, check out of certain things. I just have to, for my own peace of mind, I have to be able to do that, right? So that's number one. I think another thing that I want to do for myself, obviously writing, checking out, but I think focusing and working on, I think my mental health really took a bit of a hit this year, right? I've had a lot of things that I have been frustrated by. I feel like I've kind of let a lot of feelings overwhelm me. I think I've let a lot of different things kind of drag me down a bit more this year than most years. And I can kind of use the excuse, at least in the beginning, that losing my cat was a lot. But I think at a certain point, you do have to still be able to get on with your day and get on with your life and, accomplish shit. And I do feel like I've been lagging on that a little bit. And I have all these things that I want to do and all these dreams and all these, visions and goals. And I am doing them. I am in school and I'm getting my degree and I'm really working hard. And I'm happy about that. And I want to keep doing that. But there's other things that I'm trying to do as well that I feel like I'm just kind of getting a little bit bogged down with mental health. And I'm getting bogged down with exhaustion and stress, and it's taking a physical toll on me. My sleep has been up and down. I think it's getting better, but for a long time it was really, really bad. So like that is something I want to work on for myself, is just not letting bullshit get to me. I really want to work on trying very hard to center myself and focus on what I can actually do right this minute. Because there's a lot of things that you just cannot do. There's a lot of things you can't change the world in 5 minutes. Let's start there. While I do think that you can have an impact and you can do what you can do, like, you are not working alone, and unfortunately, as much as we don't like it, change does not come in one sweeping motion and suddenly everything's better and nothing is ever bad again. Like, that's not how this works. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times with change, both personally and societally, it is very much in steps. Things happen great, then they go back, then they go great, then they go back. It all happens in steps. It all happens in strides. It takes time, right? There's an old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. But I also think that to that, and I'm sure there's poets who have said it a lot better than me. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day, but neither was like the Grand Canyon. You know, that was built over millions and millions of years. And it's such a beautiful, breathtaking place that feels very like spiritually significant. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon and you've seen it in person, it is and it isn't exactly like it is in like film and paintings. It's this very strange, surreal feeling that you understand why it is a holy place to people. Like, you can understand that very, very clearly, because I think when you're there, you're just like, holy shit, I can't even fathom how, like, I can't even fathom what I'm looking at. Like, your brain just does not compute. All of this is to say that your own personal growth and your own personal well-being, let's say, are not built in a single day. They are not built in a single sitting. Things take time. You have to be able to give yourself time, and you have to be able to give yourself grace when you're just not feeling something, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling like you just need to take time. I think we don't, and it's hard, right? Because we're all running around trying to do everything, and so we don't give ourselves time to be upset. We don't give ourselves time to be frustrated. We don't give ourselves time to be emotional and sad and grieve and all of that, because we don't have time to do those things. But I think we need to make time to do those things, because if we don't, we're going to lose our goddamn minds. I'm chief example of this. So I think really focusing on controlling the things you can control, and recognizing that there are just some things that you have no control over, and just trying to find peace with that and do what you can do to make things better for yourself and your community and people that, you know, matter to you, while also acknowledging that, like, some things are just not in your control. Another thing that I think is very, very important to me, and I'm going to focus on in the new year, is trying to view myself outside of accomplishments, trying to view myself outside of productivity, trying to view myself outside of what I'm doing. As much as I love writing, as much as I enjoy YouTube and doing all these things, I need to be able to view myself outside of those things. I need to be able to view myself as a person outside of what I'm doing, what I'm creating. I feel like so often throughout the course of my life, I have very much focused on, I've put all of my value into my work, all of my self-worth, all of my, if anyone gives a shit about me at all, it's because of what I create. That's just created such a toxic mindset in myself that I've become this person who, if I'm not creating enough, if I'm not making enough, if I'm not doing enough, I feel like I'm somehow not worthy of anything. If I'm not doing XYZ that I feel like I should be doing, suddenly there's like this just self-loathing core that just falls down on top of me. And it's like, I need to be able to get away from that, because I think that is what's driving me the most crazy, when it's like, oh, well, this video didn't do that good, or this video I don't have as many subscribers as I should, or this or this or that. It's like, but this is supposed to be for fun. I love doing YouTube. YouTube is a lot of fun. I love getting to put on makeup on a camera and talk to people about what the fuck ever. I genuinely enjoy doing this. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise, because there's a million other things that I could be spending my time doing. Like, I genuinely love filming. I love getting the chance to film and, this set decoration and all this other stuff. Like, I love doing this. Like, I love creating art. I would not be doing these things if I didn't enjoy them. That said, I do have a bad habit of putting all of my self-worth into these things I create. And so there is this like mental thing that happens where it's like, oh, this video didn't do good. People don't like you. And like, that's really fucked up. And I know that's like, I think that's just something that a lot of people have. And I think social media has kind of conditioned us to feel like, hey, if your selfie doesn't get likes, you don't have friends. Nobody likes you. Like, that's unhealthy. That is like truly on a visceral level not great, right? Like, we can all agree that's not a great mindset to be in. So realistically, I need to take myself out of that mindset, and I need to take myself out of that mental headspace. And to do that, I have to sort of, I don't know, maybe compartmentalize, but I have to really look at myself as a whole person, not just a person who is a content creator, not a person who is a writer, not a person who is an artist of this or that. I'm a whole person who has hobbies and does all these things and enjoys all these things. But like, I need to be able to do things that I need to be able to view myself outside of just what I'm making. I need to be able to view myself outside of how I can make myself useful, as it were. And again, that's a lot of people that I think can relate to that. And it's an unfortunate thing, and it's a frustrating thing, but I know I'm not the only one there. So like, I don't know, that's one of my goals for this year. Yes, I want to be able to create more. Yes, I want to be able to focus on learning new things and doing new things. Yes, I want to write more and make more art and all of these things. But at the same time, I want to find a way to separate myself from those things and not view my entire self-worth based on what I'm doing, what I'm creating, or what I'm not creating. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be able to separate those two things, because otherwise, who are you at that point? Who are any of us at that point if we are just the things we create? If we are only the things we make, the things, that people enjoy or see? Because like, for a long time, I wrote books that nobody ever read, and I still was a whole person. So like, why is it now that I've gotten to this place where I feel like, well, if people don't read this and people don't like this, then fuck, what am I doing with my life? And like, that's not a healthy place. So I have to be able to work on that. I'm not entirely sure how right now. I got to figure that out. But like, that is something that I do want to work on. Not putting my entire self-worth into my work, because that is not a great place to be. Now, all of that's easier said than done. And again, this is 2025 goals. It is not 2025 resolutions. Why? Because I think the whole point of this is something that I'm working towards. This is something that I want to focus on. But I also recognize that things happen. I think we have to be able to recognize that things come up. And so many times with the resolutions, the reason why resolutions don't work is because you're very set in this idea of like, this has to be this way, and if it doesn't, then, I fucked up, I'm a failure, and I can never do this, and therefore there's no reason to try or keep trying. I think with a goal, you can say, look, this is what I'm aiming towards. If I falter, because as we said, progress is not linear, progress is not immediately taking steps forward. Sometimes steps go back, sometimes you falter, you go left, you go right, whatever. I think the important thing is viewing this as a goal that This is the overarching, I want to do these things for myself. But I have to, part of this goal setting is I have to give myself grace for when I fuck up. I think we have to be willing to give ourselves that chance to fuck up and make mistakes and struggle with something. You can't just automatically go into, well, I messed up, so I can never do it correct again. Or, this can never be better, whatever. No, you have to be able to say, okay, mistakes were made. This is a bit of a struggle. This isn't going the way I wanted to. Maybe I'm, feeling some type of way this week and whatever. You have to be willing to still look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm still doing great and I still love myself. And even if I fuck up, it's okay. It is not the end of the world. And I think that is something that is going to be a huge game changer, but it takes work. And you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to forgive yourself when and if you fuck up, because it's almost inevitable. It's not meant to be something to have a bad attitude or whatever about it. It's just the reality. You are going to fuck up sometimes, so you have to be willing to go easy on yourself when you do. I think it's really about self-perception and changing how you look at yourself and changing how you treat yourself and being able to treat yourself with kindness and respect, even when you're frustrated, even when you're annoyed, even when you feel like you're not doing this thing that you should be doing. And if you can do that, that's a superpower.